want to know like any adventure stories or anything, that you could share with us.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is go shed hunting. So a shed is an antler that falls off of a deer or an elk, and they shed their antlers in the spring. And so these antlers are out there laying in the desert, the high desert, and you can just go find them. And it's a really big treasure hunt. My family actually had a duck call business, so I grew up like with camo and fishing and all that. But I don't kill animals. I used to fish, and even that kind of makes me sad. So finding an antler is great. You can still use all of your skills. You can go off the trail with your compass and show off, but you don't have to kill anything.
I'm here with Renee Anderson. It's not Renee, it's Renee. In LA, when you're, as an actress, you could pronounce your name 15 different ways. But she's been on the show before, my other show. And are you still up in Oregon, by the way?
I am. Yeah, right in the middle of it. I'm in Bend.
Oh, Bend, Oregon. Okay. So we're talking to the pregame, and she's been, saying her wants to get back in the outdoors, but that's what she does, but she was a lot of Airbnb it, which can be glamping, what we talked about. But I want to go back and reintroduce you to everybody. I want to go back to like, your whole story, kind of like where you're from and like, how'd you get to do what you're doing? And you have a nice little long shot story. If you could fast track that for us, because I know your story. So like, just tell us a little about yourself. Then we'll get into a nice little adventure story or something.
Yeah, I'm Renee. A lot of people call me Nene, so that's a good one. Renee Anderson, also known as Wild Oregon Girl. I was born and raised in Oregon, in Central Oregon specifically. And I have a blog that is hiking narratives. So taking you out and about with me as if you were on the trail. And I share a lot of history about hiking as well. So that's kind of how Wild Oregon Girl started. I became a blogger when my little kiddo went to school full time. So I was in food service. Then I was a stay-at-home mom. And then I needed a new project while kiddo was at school. I had always been an artist and a writer, and I had been spending a lot of time in the outdoors. I was geocaching, I was hiking. I was training to be a triathlete, actually. And so my mom said, this is a whole lifestyle. Why don't you start a blog? She was really into the Pioneer Woman, if you've heard of her. And she started as a blogger, her lifestyle. And so I thought, okay, I can do that. Let me think of a name. Wild Oregon Girl. So that started back in 2011, hiking narratives. And I took it to Instagram, and then it was doing well. And then Instagram released Reels, which is a video format, and Wild Oregon Girl took off from that because I film everything. So I have over 40,000 videos of Oregon. So I've always got something to share, and people dig it.
You also had like a little, just a little snippet. If you can give us, there was a little bit of a long shot story there. You had like some health scare or something, as I recall. It's been a while, but share us that with us.
Yeah, I kind of skip over that conveniently. I have a schizoaffective diagnosis. I'm actually, this week, it'll be 6 years since my first episode, and I was hospitalized. And that came on in my late 20s, early 30s. Looking back, I kind of, I always
like you're
had
in your
it.
late 20s right now, though. That's so weird.
I'm about to turn 39.
What?
Yeah,
dude,
a couple weeks.
Stay on the outdoors, people. Like, get out there and do like what the Japanese call like a forest bath. Something. Drink a lot of water. All right, go on.
Yeah, it's all that spring water up here that I was raised on.
Yeah.
So yes, schizoaffective diagnosis kind of came out of nowhere. Hearing voices, delusions. All of a sudden, I was in a psychic war with aliens and the government, etc. It was really bad. I was hospitalized. I was not well for about 18 months. I was in and out of residential rehabs trying to find the right fit. Finally found one in Florida. I flew out 3,000 miles all by myself, checked in, dual diagnosis program. So they were able to get to the root cause of like you can't fix schizoaffective diagnosis, but you can learn to live with it in a way that's really healthy. So it's a long journey. Like I said, 6 years now. It'll be 4 years without medication. And I've been working very closely with a psychiatrist for that time to make sure I do things safely. But I live with a diagnosis. I am not my diagnosis, but I like to speak about it to bring awareness and show people what you can do, even though you might have a diagnosis.
Right. Well, and you would think like, being in the outdoors, and being, when I think of, I've been through Oregon several times, and it's just so verdant and green and just the air and the oxygen and the moisture and everything. You think that's just going to solve everything, but it doesn't sometimes. You need to go to Florida. So anyways, so now you've put yourself out there, in the woods. I just want to know, like, is there any highlights of like where you were in, like, any adventure stories or anything, that you could share with us, in your travels?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is go shed hunting. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's so a shed is an antler that falls off of a deer or an elk, and they shed their antlers in the spring. So they can grow new ones so that they can fight, and so these antlers are out there laying in the desert, the high desert, and you can just go find them. And it's a really big treasure hunt. So there's a lot of different ways to find those sheds. One of those ways is we actually track the herd, pay attention to where they are over the winter, where they're moving with the weather patterns. And then when those back roads open up April 1st, we'll go out and look for those antlers. So that's a super fun thing that I'm looking forward. It's almost that time of year again.
I've never heard of this. So are the antlers hard, what they shed? So you can hang those on your wall instead of the damn real, does it look like something you would hang on your wall?
Yeah, I have them up in my house. I've got actually little Christmas lights on them, and they're super cool.
We need to get a picture of that and maybe post that on your page on the BOLOTOR podcast page, because that would be interesting to see. And that would be actually, sometimes if, you don't want to, harm the animal, you don't want to eat the meat, whatever. I'm not going to say anything to anybody because I have a lot of hunters on the show. But if you want to be able to put that on your wall instead, it's a win-win, and if you want to, pay homage and you like to have that decor, I like that a lot.
That's what I do. So I'm from a family of hunters. My family actually had a duck call business. So I grew up like with camo and fishing and all that, but I don't kill animals. I used to fish, and even that kind of makes me sad. So finding an antler is great. You can still use all of your skills. You can go off the trail with your compass and show off, but you don't have to kill anything.
Right. But now where do you go for this in Oregon?
So I live in the Bend area, which is right in the center of the state. And that's right where the high desert region starts. So on the western side of the state, it's very wet and rainy. And where I'm at is where it's desert. And so I'll go out east into the sagebrush, the lava rock, and that is where the deer like to hang out.
Now, when you say desert, because I thought I drove through Bend to get to Portland, a few times, but maybe I'm mistaken. There's Eugene, which is isn't Eugene? That's where the Shakespeare Festival is.
That's Ashland.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. And then, okay. So, but now when you say desert, like I'm out here in Texas, in Georgetown, Texas, I've been to like West Texas, and like Terlingua, which is the impetus for BOLOTOR. Basically, it's like Mars. Does Bend look like the desert is like there's like no greenery sometimes, and it's just like total desert?
I've described it as that. So there's as Mars. Okay. It's very alien landscape. There is some greenery in the form of shrubs, Yeah. I think they call it a steppe. I'll forget the name, but it's a high desert, actually has shrubbery on it. So it's not just sand, and we don't have cactus.
Right.
We have juniper trees, which are similar in that they don't take a lot of water and that they drain water from really far away, miles away. And they're ancient, like 1,600 years old. So that's what our landscape looks like. And then it's lots and lots of lava rock, random buttes out there too.
That was a little bit like Joshua Tree in California. Are you familiar with Joshua Tree?
Yeah, I haven't been there. It's on my list, but looks very, very similar. We just don't have those cool looking trees.
The little, well, I forgot. Oh my God, the Joshua trees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow. Okay. So, and that's where the elk roam in the desert.
Yeah. So
why don't they go where all the moisture is?
They go into the mountains, kind of where I am in the summertime. That's where they like to hang out. And then in the winter months, they go out to the desert because there's less snow. Because we have a lot of deep snow just in town in Bend and Sun River where I am. We've got like that much right now. But even 20 miles east, there's no snow. So they can go out there and have a food source. And then they'll drop their antlers before they go back up into the mountains. So that's why we go out into the desert to get the antlers.
Yeah, doing your stuff outdoors. You ever any close call with animals, like some volatile situations?
Nothing dangerous, but I definitely have come across cougar because they're stalking the herd too, So I've come across cougar a couple times. Bear, we just have black bears. They're more scared of us, so they'll always run the other way. But I've run into a mama bear with little cubs, and they just ran away. I've run into coyote dens, and they were really mad because they had babies. But same thing, they aren't going to come and attack me. They're just going to make sure that they know that, we're here. Stay away.
The cougar, though, that would be out of all those guys, they seem kind of aggressive. Like the black bear, grizzly bear, I would be more nervous than a black bear. But black bears are like a little bit more like more mellow, I think. And from what I've seen black bears in Connecticut. So and then but the cougar, that seems like, did you just walk backwards and just kind of step away? That's what they say to do, or what'd you do?
Yeah, they're sneaky kitties. So they're there, but you're not going to run into them face to face. So when I was out shed hunting last, we actually came across 2 cougar kills. And we know they're cougar kills because they were of coyotes and they drug them up into the trees. They bring them up high. So when you see coyotes hanging in the trees, and then they also drag like deer carcass to the base of a tree. So that's a sign that cougar's out and about. And then there'll be fresh tracks, fresh cat scat. So
what's scat?
Scat, poop.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
There's cat scat.
Yeah.
And I'm learning all kinds of stuff today.
Yeah, that's how you can tell if they're there now, how long ago they were there.
Yeah.
I've been out and about where I've hiked out. I was geocaching, found the geocache.
Geocaching.
Yeah, it's a adventure game that you use GPS coordinates to find hidden like ammo cans of goodies, just stashed all around. There's rules to the game. You can't put it on private property and all that, but there's a lot out in the desert. My dad places them actually. So we were out looking for a geocache, a little hidden treasure, found the geocache, walked back to the car, and there were fresh cat tracks over hours. Wow. This was up at Smith Rock, north of Bend. And then we see the sign. There has been cougar sightings in this area.
Are they territorial? Do they smell your tracks and they're like, I want to mark my area here?
Yeah, because they're cats. So they don't want other cats in the area. And they're very aware of, what's going on. And when they get hungry is when they will go into where people are. And sometimes those animals have to be removed when they come into city limits. But that's probably happened 4 or 5 times in Bend since I've lived there. There's been a spare cougar. You
got geocaching, you have shed hunting. What are the little surprise, like little interesting nuggets you have that you do out there?
Well, when I go to the coast, I do a lot of treasure hunting too. So I have some specific things I'm looking for. I don't know if you've heard of the movie The Goonies.
Yeah.
It's based in Oregon. That's kind of our claim to fame. Goonies never say die. So that movie was based on a shipwreck that crashed off the Oregon coast, like in the was it the 1600s? And it was carrying beeswax. And the beeswax is stamped, and the beeswax goes down into the cold sea and it gets preserved. And sometimes the pieces will wash up, and it's from that particular shipwreck because it's stamped. So I am on the lookout for that. And that's up north, like Neoconi Beach. So that's on my list. And then I found some tsunami debris too from like 2010, the tsunami. It took 10 years to get across the ocean.
The tsunami from Japan?
Yeah. Like really.
Japan? Oh, that was the earthquake. And then the tsunami that happened afterwards, that tsunami?
It flooded Japan, and that debris went into the ocean and made it across to Oregon. And so I found quite a few things from that time. And it's Japanese writing. It's dated. You're not supposed to touch it because it's radioactive, but
yeah, that's what's floating over here too.
Yeah. And we've had big pieces show up on the coast too, which they've had to dispose of. But I found in particular a Japanese figurine from over 100 years ago I was able to research. And it's from a particular area that was flooded in the tsunami. So I was able to track all that information down. So I'm always on the lookout for treasure.
God, yeah. That bums me out. It's like, because Oregon coast, I mean, just the West Coast in general, it's like it should be so clean and fresh, and then the damn nuclear stuff that everything we heard about, and to this day they're like that spill, along with other things, but that spill is like contaminated the fish and stuff. Not to be all down on everything, but it's just like, do you know a lot about that stuff?
Yeah, I used to want to be a marine biologist, so pay a lot of attention to the marine mammals and how they're affected. Yeah. Definitely a lot of starvation because it affects the smaller fish that moves all the way up. And, we don't see the after effects until almost a decade later, but a lot of loss of life from that singular event it's still happening. Wow. It's really sad. Really sad. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you go out there and you're hunting for stuff. I mean, could you, I guess there's not that, because I've been in the water in California, but how much do you think the water is affected, or like everything's affected on in the ocean at this point?
It's huge. Well, we have microplastics and everything, just the state of the ocean from what it was 10 years ago is so different. Wow. Because I used to be on the coast and you would see the tide line, and it was just marked by seafoam. And now it's marked by lines of little pieces of plastic.
Oh, wow.
And it didn't used to look like that,
Yeah.
So in the last 10 years, I think things have really shifted in the ocean.
What have you done lately? What's going on with you as far as, what's on your plate?
Yeah. So I just partnered up with an outfitter down in Southern Oregon. I'm going to be going on the Rogue River. I'm going to be making some safety videos for how to get out on the water. And then this particular outfitter, they make paddles and oars, and they also have a fly fishing film. And so that's coming up to Bend next week. I'm going to meet up with everybody there and talk fly fishing and getting out on the river. I'm going out to the coast. I'm going to do some work with Moe's Clam Chowder. We're going to go behind the scenes at the aquarium and take a lighthouse tour. And we're going to go out on the ocean, actually.
You said the coast. You said the East Coast?
No. Our West Coast.
All that stuff sounds so New Englandy, but
yeah.
what's this Moe's Clam? It's a chowder house. What is this?
Yeah. Moe's chowder. They've been around since, I want to say the late 60s on the Oregon coast. They're kind of our first tourist chain on the ocean in Oregon, and they make clam chowder. It was a lady named Mo, little firecracker in Newport, which is our port where we have all our crab and shrimp that comes in. So she started this little restaurant there. Now there's a bunch of them on the coast. And so I know the granddaughter of Mo. And so she's going to have me come out and we're going to learn about how to make clam chowder, and we're going to go get the clams and just hook up with the whole community. So I'm excited for projects like that. I'm working with 3 different travel boards. And so I go and I meet up with the travel board, and they've set it up so that I meet a farmer and a restaurateur and an artist and just get to highlight the whole community. So I'm really excited to work on those projects. And then really, really excited, I get to review a Ford F-150 in a couple weeks. I get to go work with Ford.
What? Wait. You get to there's a Ford has hired you to review their truck. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so stoked.
With the 2024, just the regular F-150 or the electric
F-150.
or it would just the new?
I don't know the trim yet. We're still working out the details, but I do know it's a 2024 F-150, and I get to take it out in nature and show it off because that's the type of stuff I do. So I'm really excited for that partnership. That's been in the works for a while, and I already own an F-150. So
I own an F-150 also. I love my truck, and and you get to review that. That's so cool. And you get to go to the Moe's Chowder House. You get to eat clam chowder and shellfish, which is delicious. And you get to you find out how they make it. And you're going to be out there and what looks like a little lighthouse, a little video situation going on over there. That's fun. And then you get to review the new 24 F-150. This is since I talked to you last, this is a nice uplift of what's going on in your career. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's just been level up. It's been a lot of work, but the rewards are awesome. The community that I've built is awesome. I just did fundraising for the city of Portland for at-risk youth, and I was able to raise $3,500 in a night using my platform, and I was so stoked. Little old me, I was in the hospital in the psych ward 6 years ago, and here I am helping other people now. So it's awesome. I'm grateful.
I love what's happening. That's so cool. All right. What we do at the end, let's talk about the future. I mean, might have changed since it's a different podcast. Tell us what's going on in the future with you. What do you have planned? What are your big plans?
Working on a book. I had a contract with a large book company that I dissolved because I wanted to be more in control of my creative efforts. So I'm actually my creativity has been renewed around that project now that I am the only boss. So doing illustrations for that book. Really excited for that. That's going to be out this year. And then I just did a podcast of my own all about Oregon musicians. Just a little side project. I also do promotion for music festivals. So I used to play music, and so that's just my passion, my hobby coming to life as part of my platform as well. So promoting music, but then talking about Oregon musicians. I researched 101 Songs of Oregon as a playlist that I made. And then while I was researching that playlist, I realized we have composers who wrote for Disney, and we have studio musicians who played with Stevie Wonder and Diana Ross, and people who had their own variety shows. And so I wanted to tell these stories, and that's what that podcast is about.
This is really cool. You're kind of creating an atmosphere. There's a guy out here. I won't name his name, but there's a guy out here in Texas. Not too old either, but he's really hit a lot of traction of just showing what's going on in Texas in general. I'll just say the name of the show is Day Tripper. And he's actually located here in Georgetown, Texas. And you're doing this kind of vibe, you're getting all this together where he's actually gotten so big, he's got a little shop here in the Georgetown Square. And you are kind of creating this whole thing in your neck of the woods in Oregon, the whole state of Oregon. You're like, you're becoming like the focal point, like bringing all this stuff together. I think it's really cool. I mean, what you're doing with, the Shadow House on the coast and with the, collaborating, getting all these, bands together, take all your passions, but making it work. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, maybe, I don't want to put a seed in your head, but maybe you can, you'll see a shop somewhere in Bend or something, to where it's like you're going to have all the, the stuff that you've kind of, collaborated with and do an expose. Part of your, maybe weekly or monthly curriculum is, an expose on things around Oregon.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah, it's interesting. I was making the joke. I can tell it's an election year by my messages I'm getting. And I can tell that my platform has shifted because I'm starting to get messages I think should go to the mayor. Because, can you fix this social problem? Can you, what are we going to do about this problem here and there? And are you going to highlight this? And I try to do my best to, be a good steward for the whole state. But yeah, it's been silly, but that's a great idea to get a shop going, especially in Bend.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe you'll put that really cool fedora hat that you got to be right behind you, put it on your head, and then we'll see you on like, your own little, like maybe weekly or monthly show that, is like doing exposés on Oregon. I don't know. Yeah. I love to see that. Tell everybody how they could find more about you.
Yeah. I'm Wild Oregon Girl across the board. I made it easy for you.
There it is. Wild Oregon Girl. Simple enough. Renee Anderson, thank you so much for sharing. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us. Gear up for your next adventure and head over to BOLOTOR.com to check out the amazing Bolo Pack and their other innovative outdoor gear. Catch you next time.